Hey, my people, what's going on? This is Major TV. Let's talk. Look, I said I want to talk with y'all about something, right? And I think I have to show a relationship between the 1960s and 70s Black Power movement compared to today in 2020. The reason why I wanted to talk about this because there was an interesting thing going on back then. It was the U.S. government versus the Black Power movement. The government single-handedly focused on taking down any black person or organization that was speaking about rising up, fighting racism and discrimination, and demanding that they be treated as humans and equal. We have to remember that during the 60s, it was bad with the housing, schools, police violence, assistance. I mean, dogs was actually being sicked on people. They was beaten with batons. I mean, they was shot at with I don't know, road bullets, tear gas or what have you, and it was killing black people too, right? And the protests and outcry was growing this country. And it was so bad to the point where Martin Luther King just stumbled up on being a black activist. And going so far as risking his life. And he went about in a non-violent way. And though he spoke up for black people, but he spoke up also for poor people in general, right? Then you had Malcolm X coming from out of the Nation of Islam under the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and a lot of stuff he learned while he was incarcerated through a lot of reading, debating, discussions, and whatnot. So when he came home, he took off and running, you know. And Malcolm X inspired so many black people, right? He inspired the Black Power movement in a sense, whereas he gave the idea and spoke of black empowerment, black defense, not counting on a white man to give you anything. He went so far as calling white people blue-eyed devils and talked about their racist ways and how they had everything set up in a Jim Crow system and suppress and push black people out of the democracy and fair treatment. And we have to remember, this was a culmination of what blacks had been going through post-slavery. And the Jim Crow law of the land, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, of a whole lot of oppression. Black people were getting lynched. Black people was ushered into jails for petty crimes and sometimes being falsely arrested. Black people being beat and killed by police a lot. White mobs would go into black communities and destroy it, burn it down to the ground. with the government help. All because they were jealous and they was hateful. And this documented all across the United States, especially in the South. There was a lot of stuff going on. Like, you had people that was joining the war, World War I and World War II. That when they got back to the States, they were treated awful while they was in there. They were treating the German prisoners better than they was treating the black soldiers. And with all this going on, right, you had a situation where you had the Marcus Garvey Pan-African movement, you had W.E.B. Du Bois, the intellectual movement, and you had Booker T. Washington that dealt with learning how to build, trade, skills, and whatever, right? And there was an issue with the Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Booker T. Washington, right? And Booker T. Washington didn't care about racism. He didn't care about that. When they had the Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal, or equal but separate, what whites were saying, well, we can be separated and still be equal. And W. Du Bois wasn't trying to hit that, right? He was totally against it, right? So there was a big debate, and though both of them had valid points, they never really got around to working together. Likewise with Marcus Garvey, right? So you have a situation that's arising out of the early 20th century, the late 1800s to early 1900s, right? Whereas there's a conversation among black people, right, about what's best for them. But as a result, there was a lot of bad things happening to black people, right? And we went through several decades of just brutal experiences. You know, we had problem with work and work wages. We had problem with the busing. We had to send them back in the bus. It was a lot going on, right? And when we had to send them back in the bus and deal with not looking white people in their eyes, and especially when we go to the South, you know how it was, right? And what happened to Emmett Till was just awful. And it was a culmination of all those things that led to the Black Power movement rising, because you had a lot of black historians, and it was actually exposing a lot of lies that Brother Graham S.J. was talking about with Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. But you also had John G. Jackson, you had Dr. Henry Clark, you had Dr. Ben, you had Dr. Chiat Anti-Diop, the godfather of historians, and he had like 4, 5, 6 degrees, right? And a lot of his research exposed a lot of stuff that the whites was writing about that wasn't true about history. You know what I'm saying? And so when it was a culmination of all the mess that was going on and the drama black people was experiencing, and then the emergence of black people that's questioning the power structure and the way we were being taught and the way we was being treated and the way we believed in things and when we did, right? Everything about our life was just in question. And I think what spearheaded this, right? In the 1920s, they had a doctor by the name Dr. Carter G. Wilson. He wrote Miseducation of the Negro. It's a small book. And in this book, I never forgot, I read the book many moons ago, right? He said that if you're a mom, dad, doctor, lawyer, bus driver, truck driver, black people say. And that's how Negro History Week started, and then Black History Month, right? But his career, he had an education background. It was wrong because he exposed the fallacies and lies, right? And I think that inspired a lot of our black historians and different black people in different different sciences, different fields, right? Dealing with history and whatnot, right? And when the 60s and 70s came around, right, the emergence of black people awareness and outlook on life emboldened them. And then with the Elijah Muhammad push with the Nation of Islam, right? And leading up to the Black Power movement. So you had a lot of stuff going. You had the black historians coming out. You had the Nation of Islam with the black nationalist religious movement, you know what I'm saying? And geared towards uplifting black people, right? You had the Malcolm X that stumbled into the civil rights movement. If you look at the history, how it really got started, right, with him. And you look at how he inspired a lot of nonviolent movements, right? Then you look at the Malcolm X of the world that was brought up under Elijah Muhammad, how he inspired the Black Power movement, right? Where you have the Black Panthers, Black Liberation Armies, and so forth, so on, right? And it was to the point where everybody was really on code, right? The only difference was you had the nonviolent movement. I don't want you to say nonviolent. I'm gonna say the peaceful protest and black people that was willing to arm themselves or defend themselves if a white person try to violate them, right? And we have to remember, when I said it was on code in the 60s and 70s, we had the infighting with the bourgeois blacks, intellectuals that would challenge Malcolm and what have you, right? We had black people in high positions, in high places, and was even considered intellectuals that was totally disagreeing with Malcolm, right? Threw him on the bus and everything. Even though Malcolm was making them look silly and exposing them, you know? And some of them is already, documented as far as videos on YouTube, right? But my point is, and even though we had the infiltration and all that with the COINTELPRO and Black Messiah, we had different agents and informants that was making moves and informing the FBI was going on, right? The government. I believe still black people was on code. They really understood what the fight was about, right? So even though Malcolm and Martin didn't see eye to eye, they did agree that they caused was somewhat similar, right? Had they been living in my opinion, I think they would have got together and whatnot. And that would have been historic, right? But unfortunately, we know what happened to them. We have to remember that the Black Power movement took on the U.S. government. And it's documented, and a lot of people know how the U.S. government blackmailed people, incarcerated them. Some went in exile like Assad Shakur from the Black Liberation Army. You had people getting killed like in the Black Panther movement, the great Fred Hampton and others. But there was to a degree on point as far as being on cold, right? And when they killed our leaders, we had nobody to step up in place. Jesse Jackson took over Martin, right? Mr. Farrakhan took over Malcolm X, right, movement. And for a minute, you had a lot of you thought you had a lot of hope in them, right? And though the minister exposed a lot of truth, I believe in it. I believe overall, the minister turned things down a lot, right? Got caught up in things that just wasn't cool, like going to the Middle East, dealing with a lot of Arabs that was still enslaving black people, and he was taking money from them, right? There was some speeches he was making that just wasn't hitting it, right? And I'm just talking about stuff that's been documented about things he said that were just questionable about black people and so forth, so on, right? But for the most part, he was hitting the hammer on the nail, but I don't think he had the it factor like Malcolm. I think he was great enough to put together the nation again. He was great enough to really, don't get me wrong, the brother's great. But somewhere down the line, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But of course, the steps he followed steps of Malcolm X, who tutored him, right? And I'm not trying to take nothing from the minister. I just feel like he's old, man. He deserved the respect. He deserved love. Great man, you know what I'm saying? Sacrificed life to the black people. But I just feel like somewhere down the line was disconnected. I've been following Mr. Farrakhan since I was a kid. My dad loved Mr. Farrakhan, bless his soul. He's not here, but he loved Mr. Farrakhan. And he's a donated to the college and everything till the day he died, right? But I just had my own questions, but to make a long story short, they killed us, right? Our leaders and what have you. And after all that happened, came out neighborhoods. They would have put the drugs in the neighborhood and all other stuff in. They had been doing things bad to us, and we never had nobody to really pick up the mantle and run with it. Farrakhan did a great job, but somewhere down the line, there was controversy, confusion with the Khalil Muhammad situation and everything, right? So let's fast forward to 2020. I believe 2020 is as similar to the Black Power movement, where it was the Black Power movement versus U.S. government, or U.S. government versus Black Power movement, right? I feel that's going on right now with not the Black Power movement. I believe black people versus the U.S. government in the sense whereas I don't think they have a real black power movement in this country in this day and age. Though we say we have the black conscious movement going on and so forth, so on, I feel like the black power movement, not excuse me, the black power movement, the black conscious movement today don't have the it factor. It's nothing like how they were then, right? But getting back to what I was saying, comparing the current to the black power movement, is the fact that it has been a culmination of police violence, mistreatment, denial of constitutional rights, denial of basic liberties, and the suppression of black people in a subliminal and covert way, right? And with the idea that something is innately wrong with us, and the reason why we hadn't succeeded. And that's so blatantly wrong. So it got to the point where it was a balling point. When you look at what happened with Ahmaud Arbery, you know, you look at all the different killings just in 2020, right? We're not even counting 2019, 2018. Along with the fact that, because it was a culmination of all that, right? Along with the fact that every president that was coming in office was not trying to secure black people in a sense where financially we can be awarded reparation or some kind of funding. If you don't want to deal with slavery, we probably can swallow a pill on that. But we can talk about a lot of other stuff you have been doing with the redlining, predatory lending, destructions of many black communities. You know what I'm saying? The Freedom Bank, where after slavery they created a bank where they put money in it where we can borrow. The white people took all the money out. The bank couldn't even stand up. We just because slavery gonna definitely break their back, right? Because we can just talk about before slavery, but we haven't got nothing, right? We've been getting kicked in our ass all the way. We have been used against each other, right? To compete for jobs, to stay on jobs. We were coon, we would kiss ass, we would do everything to make sure I'm all right, but F him or F her. We had to deal with that. Dealing with not just being profiled by the police, profiled by everyday white citizens that feel like we shouldn't be living in this loft or this subdivision, or can't believe we got this pretty home, you know? Don't want to let you, and it's documented video-wise. There was a white lady that wanted to let a young black brother inside an apartment, a gated-type community apartment, right? A loft. And she could not believe it, but that's the reality we deal with. We deal with the perception that black people is like this, or black people shouldn't have this or can't have that. We just got tired. And the Black Power movement was by far worse, but you see a lot of similar things going on. And my question is, what have we learned from the Black Power movement? We know about the government and what they did to infiltrate and destroy the movement. But did we ever just look back and see what really happened? how the government was successful in neutralizing the movement. Yeah, we have had progress. You have a nice bit of black millionaires. You have a nice bit of black people that's doing all right. But then on the other hand, you got a lot of black people that's doing horrible, that really need help. You know what's really pissed me off? And I heard, Ice Crew talk about it the other day, right? It was like, people be like, why you ask the government? And even black people say, why you ask the government, right? They help, why you just don't help yourself? I heard Cube say something that was just interesting, right? And it was so damn true. He said, they gonna talk about why I'm asking government for money or whatever. He said, I pay taxes too. That's my money to give me back. And I was like, damn, he right. Black people do say that all the time. And people in general, white people and everything, oh, don't go to your own thing. You don't rely on the government, whatever. But that's the money you're giving the government. And we know the government do wasteful spending millions and billions on projects that they never really even pursue. But I really think there is a connection with the 1960s and 70s Black Power movement and right now. See, we don't have we didn't have a particular leader they can really look at until Grandmaster Jay come on the scene. And look where they put their brother. In prison, snatched his basic rights, put the man in house arrest, and trying to convict him when he never have a gun. He never can speak the way he speak. But you hear Tariq Nasheed saying that, oh, the way how he talking, what he be doing, and boy, they would have been like them. I know some man right, what have you. They locked him up. I didn't see it come lock you up. Because you know why? You know to be politically correct when you're talking about certain things. And say I have a problem with that, because if you know while this brother just risking his life, and then you criticizing him for doing it, I don't respect, because I don't care what nobody says. I've been around quite some time. I've never seen a movement like this dude. And I don't know how they seen some brothers lay some good information out, even Tariq Nasheed. I didn't heard the minister really go hard, right? But I ain't never see black men give back them brothers give and go on the scene. And a lot of people that have criticized Grandmaster Jay, they was one time rooting for him. Up until he ain't said no name, he just called out black people that's been in the game for so long, but not doing nothing. He was talking about how he hustling and what have you, and he was turning down donations. I had to respect that because it did make sense. Because you can talk all you want. If you can't manifest that into actions, you just talking. That go for me or anybody. But I think there's a connection. I think there's a serious connection. And I feel like we need to learn what happened back then. Because they snatched Grandmaster Jay, we asked out again. To the people we have out there that's leading, a lot of them not even supporting Grandmaster Jay. And I'm not saying they saying bad things about him. A lot of them are just not saying nothing about him. And that just is worse. You know what I'm saying? You know, then you saying something, because at least when Tariq, the Vicky Dillons, on the Morris TV guy, Jamal come on and spoke, at least you know, they let you know where they stood. But you got a lot of people, even Nation Islam, are just quiet. And let me say this too. The Nation Islam, the minister was around when all this was going on. He should definitely mentor and be telling people about what's going on. I just don't understand how we can speak so consciously, right? And we can speak from the heart about a lot of real deep things, but not support Grandmaster Jay. I don't get it. And what I learned from the Black Power movement in the government that made sense to me. You cut the head, the tail gonna follow. And that's what I think we need to learn. We need to protect Grandmaster J, protect any leader that's out there like that. And we should have somebody in place that they will take Grandmaster J or somebody down. And he said he do have somebody that will come after him, if something happened to him. But that's still remains to be seen. Right now, you are the man. You are the general. You really is running the show. And what I'm doing is really chipping in and trying to do my part, because I know from what I have seen and observed and going to one of your rallies and movement, I seen your sincere heart. I seen what you meant to us. I seen people say they love you, shouting, Black Power. I heard when you said, I do this for everybody. He pointed at me, a little girl, somebody said, he said, you know why I do this here? He said, I look in that young girl eye, I look in that brother right there eye, talking about me and somebody else behind me. He said, give me hope because y'all believe in what I'm doing and blah, blah. That man told us he loves us and blah, blah. It touched my heart. It touched my heart. Because you can see it in the man's eyes. I know dude is discouraged the way they're trying to tear him apart in our own community. Because I ain't gonna lie, doing these videos sometimes, it takes a lot out of me because sometimes you wonder if people even get what you're trying to say. But we have to realize and understand what is happening right now. And definitely we gotta look at and review and understand what happened to the Black Power movement in the 60s and 70s. Because it was United States versus the Black Power movement. And you know what they did? When they cut the head, the tail follow. And the same thing right now going on with Grandmaster J. They went straight when they seen he was carrying guns. See, what people don't get about Grandmaster J, and what I respect about Grandmaster J, he didn't come on the scene just running his mouth about this, that, and other. He was specific. And he came from a legal standpoint. He knew what he was talking about. About the Second Amendment, carrying on open carry permit. Understanding legally do's and don'ts. You don't catch too many black leaders talking like that. You can see he have a legal mind, because when he go talking about everything dealing with, he got a legal ramification, he is on point. I can understand exactly what he's saying. I know I'm a legal mind, right? But I was just impressed with the way this brother owned himself up and then put together a group of brothers called In Fact, Not Fucking Around Crew. Man, the white folks got scared as hell. And then the way he was talking on his videos, monumental facts of a feeling, really? They had to snatch him. See, I use this word, right? Political correct. And what we probably understand that political correct is saying all the right things without offending nobody. And even though in the Black Conscious movement we talk about racism, systemic racism, institutional racism, and racist, right? That's only words. And keeping everything in context, right? Of course, you can see a lot of inflammatory things that really add some meat in that gumbo, right? But to make a long story short, when you're talking about stuff like this, and then arming yourself, and going out there and confronting the sheriffs, the mayor, chief of police, talking to the people and whatnot, that's a game changer. So, I hope we learn from the 60s. And I hope we really can stop all the fighting. Stop all the hating. Stop all the lying. And come together. I just had this in my mind. I want to talk to y'all. I don't know if I really got my point across how I want. I'm tired. I've been driving for a minute. I just had to just keep this thing going. Thank you for everything. Remember, stay focused, stay on cold, and always be back. Always be black. Excuse me. Peace.